The decision to close public schools in France was taken on March 2020, as of March 2020, so we had to start the procedures of mandatory lockdown, and it ended in May 2020. The situation as of March 13th was that we had 13 promotions in training. So that's about 1,000 trainees. That include 2 promotions of trainee prison officers who were starting their training at the time. So as I said, a lot of people, trainees and staff were in the campus. So we had to close down. But on the field also, there were decisions taken. The prisons continued working, but there were fewer inmates though, because we didn't want the staff to deal with an overcrowding situation on top of the crisis management. So we had a decrease in terms of number of inmates, thanks to the lockdown, which affected the judiciary staff. And there were instructions also from the ministry to have fewer remand custodies. We also increased the number of early releases. That way, it contributed to a lesser number of inmates. So what is at stake in this health crisis? As far as we see it, 2 priorities. The main one is to keep the training under the same format, which meant that we had to give priority to the prison officers in terms of training. And the second objective was to mobilize all our resources, the logistical resources, to support the training. So basically, it's the activities of the General Secretary, the budget, human resources, the IT services, and all the follow-up for the internship of the trainees. It also concerned the training directorate and the different training sections, because as I said, we are the one training academy, so we train the probation staff, the surveillance staff, the administrative, technical, all the staff working in prisons. So we have different training sections. The first period, which was under lockdown period, we had the objective of setting a training continuity plan with major issues. First, as I said, the format, the schedule needed to be kept as is to validate the training. And also the program of training needed to be complete, the alternating format with the work study program, which needed to be kept. We reorganized a bit the schedule, but we kept the alternating system where we had theoretical training at the ÉNAP and internships on the field. It meant that the internship was longer, but we kept it. As far as the training content was concerned, for some training, we had to remove to keep out some training, for example, the intervention techniques, but also some training was dematerialized, so we had to use e-learning system. So that was the main objective, to keep the continuity of training. But the second objective was to set a business continuity plan, although under deteriorated conditions. We're going to try to see if we can fix the system with the. So you can see the big screen. En fait, eux, ils voient ça et moi je vois que nous on voit ça. Donc je sais pas si dans le
Et le voyant plaqué.
Et le voyant. Après, c'est pas grave, on va continuer comme ça. Hein, parce que, F7.
On est bien.
On peut dupliquer,
c'est bien un mode de diapo, mais.
On peut dupliquer, mais ça va peut-être tout changer.
Non, mais toi, tu l'as en même temps.
Ok. On va essayer comme ça.
Là, oui, voilà.
Voilà. Okay. Can you see it better now?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. We duplicated the screen to make it easier. Okay. So as I said, that was the main objective. And the second objective was to set a business continuity plan, although under deteriorated conditions. So as I said before, we had the activities of the General Secretary and the activities of the training directorate and its training sections. Okay. As far as the operational application of this continuity plan, the trainees carried out their internship or they extended it. So those who were doing their internship, they stayed in their internship and they extended the period of the internship. The trainees who were on campus, they had to go back home, although it only concerned those who had a personal vehicle to be in coherence with the procedures. We had to develop the training content digitally for them, so that was part of the operational application. We had a follow-up, a pedagogical follow-up ensured. That meant that the evaluations were reorganized. They were still on. They were only reorganized through video conferences, for example. And this was also possible because we had technical support for the trainees. We have our IT services, who we were just seeing right now. And we have a digital training unit who is dedicated to creating the contents and for them to follow. So that's the operational application for the training continuity plan, but also as it comes to the business continuity plan, we had to implement a degraded mode for the services in person. So there were still some staff present at the academy in person, but under a degraded mode. And for this, we had to address the consequences in terms of human resources. So there were administrative and legal issues that were addressed by the human resources. We organized also everything that concerned homeworking and developed teleworking, because at the time we were not fully developed in terms of the equipment for teleworking. So a lot of the staff were working from home, but with their own equipment. And of course, we had to implement the health procedures. So that meant the procedures to follow and how to behave. And so we had procedures for each situation, each personal situation. We had to designate also coronavirus contacts. They were referees in a way, reference. So in a contact in the directorate, in the human resources, we had a prevention doctor present, and a psychologist also, and a prevention agent. And also on the campus, we had to take measures in case of a contamination case. In terms of the application, we were piloting the business continuity plan with the daily in-person executive committee on the campus, with services represented, which were included in the plan. also with this continued to plan, it involved a weekly video conference with the approving authority, the Correctional Administration Authority, to authorize all the procedures in place. And we had regular contacts with the administrative and health authorities. So it means piloting, but also means communication, which was a key element to have crisis communication with the staff, with the trainees, with the authorities. For the staff, there were a mailing list with the official communiques which were sent regularly. And we communicated through the internet websites, through Facebook, and through a Moodle platform. It was important to keep the dialogue with the trade unions, even if it was done informally. It was important to keep the dialogue. And as I said, in terms of communication, a video conference, regular video conferences with the authorities. In terms of crisis management, there were video conferences also with the academy services with different objectives. As I said, the information towards the agents, but also to implement the e-training. So how did we implement this? It was through different media files for the trainees. Videos with PowerPoint that were commented with a trainer, which was here present on the video, but he was presenting the PowerPoint. Also live virtual classes with written questions from the trainees to comment and to go over. We kept assessment for the trainees, and it was done under the form of quizzes and multiple choice questions. So it was important to keep a work dynamic between the staff and the directorate. Even if it was done remotely, it was important to keep the staff engaged to avoid disengagement from the work activity. In terms of administrative follow-up, there was a regular follow-up for the agents and for the vulnerable persons who had the status of vulnerable persons. So it was the idea of keeping a link between employee and employer during the time of crisis, even remotely or in person for some activities. We had to identify the vulnerable persons and, of course, fighting against a risk of isolation under these special conditions. There was also a table, a document of follow-up, and the idea behind this was to get trainers a summary of the decisions that were taken for each training section, and it was updated every day. So that was all during the lockdown period, and deconfinement, as we call it in France, was started in May 2020. But before this official deconfinement date, there was some preparation work. So by the end of April, there were some feedbacks on the lockdown period that were forwarded by the services to work on the deconfinement, and it helped us a lot to understand the situation. By May 6th, we had also a committee, a health, safety and working conditions committee, to have feedback and to implement the deconfinement protocol. The local authorities were also invited to verify this protocol in place. And then, of course, the deconfinement phase started on May 11th. From the 11th to the 22nd of May, we started reopening with the staff. And as they came, there were a presentation of the what we call recovery plan and the health procedures, the health measures. So we had to map out all the individual situations to know of different cases that were present. On May 25th, the trainee prison officers were received. They were coming in on the campus to finish their training. So, of course, the different areas in the campus were reorganized. For example, when they were going to the dining hall, they had to follow procedures to come at certain times and only at certain times to avoid big groups at the same time. And also with this, by resuming the training, we implemented a week in the training, which is going to be a full online theoretical training. And this helps us to keep track of the number of trainees on site and to reduce this number. Because, of course, there are one per bedroom. So before that, there would be up to 2 per bedroom. And so we have to keep the numbers low to keep this procedure. Also, it's important to say that we were the first academy, the first school from the French Ministry of Justice to reopen, and so it was important to keep track of our procedures. As for the confirmed cases of COVID contamination in France, well, not in France, on campus in the ÉNAP, in August we had 3 cases, 2 involving the trainees and 1 staff. And because we had 3 cases, it was the ceiling number to lead to a cluster status. So it also led to new procedures. And this allowed to put in place a recovery plan, which was put in motion. And obviously, because of this contamination, the regional health agency intervened, and quite quickly, we should add. And with these cases, it led to contact persons who were tested and isolated, and it was 31 people. In terms of analysis on recommendations that followed this situation, it revealed weak points for us, which is the digital dependence, because it's both in terms of training and human resources, on which we rely on the digital resources. As far as training is concerned, it was also a priority. It was already a priority because we have the academy has a set of priorities for a period of a few years, and the development of e-learning and digital resources was a priority. So it was confirmed that it is a priority, and but it was speeded up with this process, and it also prevented this e-learning development. It's prevented a pedagogical break, which would have dire consequences, because if we had not validated the training of the trainees, we would have fewer staff in the prisons, and the prison would not have been able to work properly without the proper staff. So it's important to keep this pedagogical process. So in terms of training, 3 objectives. We reinforced the technical, we are reinforcing actually the technical performance of the platform. So the picture you see is the new platform. We had the previous one, and this is the new one. We need to train also the trainers to use this digital application. And we also need to provide equipment to the trainees. They use their computers, their laptop, but they also use their smartphone, and we have to accompany this development. Okay. Now, in terms of human resources management, we experienced this situation from our homes with our own equipment, and we need to, and except for a few middle managers and trainers who were provided with computer equipment. So we need to implement teleworking in full motion, and on the training level, this type of organization is lacking a bit in terms of performance follow-up. So we need to develop also in terms of training. Also, the management methods must be adapted when we are working in teleworking, and so we need to change a bit the methods and to adapt to the situation with this. How are we going to do this? A purchase order was done for 60 computers. So it was budgeted, and it's going to arrive soon. A training is underway to promote teleworking in a framework that is adapted, legally speaking. And there is also a managerial dimension that must be addressed to organize this remote work. As a conclusion, we would say that that this lockdown brought changes in the academy. It's confirmed all the priorities we had set in motion previously for the academy, and we had the help of our IT services who were quite mobilized during this period, and also the digital training units who were quite active. The reforms which were needed were speeded up by this process, and we realized that it was quite effective and that we need to speed this up. But it also meant that we need a reflection period to implement, to put in motion the new practices in the organization, in the academy. So all the feedback we are receiving will be well, we are going to work with this feedback to put in motion this this reform. And lastly, we want to finish with a few questions to give you the stakes and to follow up on our debates. And those are the 4 questions. How do we set and respect training standards in a crisis situation? And up to what level can we accept such a degradation of the training? Because it was a very specific situation in which we had to degrade the organization, but up to what level can we accept this degradation? What is the basic essential training to respect the standards, the European and international standards? So what are the core trainings we should focus on if we are to experience another situation such like this? And last, how long can we hold in this context of reorganization? We can see with this conference, for example, that we are not immediately returning to normalcy. And so we are going to experience in the coming months continuity of this degraded mode, and hopefully we can return to normalcy soon, but it seems that we are staying on with this approach. So, except if sauf si j'ai oublié quelque chose.
Non, si vous me permettez, une toute petite précision. Je ne sais pas si on a parlé de ultramarins qui sont restés en tendance.
Non.
C'est juste qu'à un moment donné, comme vous mentionnez le fait que nous sommes intervenus sur site, alors que le site est censé être fermé, on a quand même cette communauté d'une 50aine d'individus sur toute la totalité du confinement, dont on va s'occuper au quotidien.
I forgot to mention, as the director was mentioning, that during the training, well, as when the crisis situation started on the campus, there were 50 trainees who were to be kept on the campus because they were coming from the overseas territories, because they are carrying out their training at the academy. So when it started, this situation, they could not go back overseas, obviously. So they needed to stay on the campus, and we adapted the situation to take care of them and to follow up with them on their situation. So yes, there were some trainees who were staying and living on the campus at the time. So that's it for me. I'm going to resume with this. Yes. Good.
Thank you very much, Cedric, for your presentation. And maybe the first question that comes to my mind, for such a big institute as your ÉNAP is, what for your director was the biggest challenge when the lockdown started?
So there's a bit of a delay between the answer and my interpreting. Donc, je ne sais pas si vous avez entendu, quels sont les principaux défis qu'on a rencontrés, les plus gros défis.
Le plus gros défi, c'est de 13 formations initiales qui sont pour les raisons aussi de l'académie. Nos formations sont étroitement liées aux propositions de l'administration en termes de recrutement. 13 formations stratégiques.
Il y a un par un, donc d'abord.
Les maintenir. Sachant que, c'est juste pour notre cours, ça va être interne.
Oui, c'est ça.
C'est bien mentionné.
So donc ça c'est le premier. So the first priority for us was that we needed to maintain the different 13 training sections and to follow the training of these 13 sections. And because we have a schedule in place, we needed to keep for the correctional administration. Sorry. So we needed to keep the training as is with the training phase of the activities, to have the staff begin their work on site at the normal date, because otherwise it would have meant negative consequences for the prisons, for the probation services, for all the services, for all the correctional services. So yeah, we need to maintain this schedule, this program activity, and to do this, we have the help of the system, how it works. It's based on the alternating system between work and study. So they are doing their internship. So we had the possibility of them in their internship for those who were carrying out the internship. So it helped us reorganize the training and keep the format, keep the schedule as is.
Okay, thank you. And the second thing that I would like to ask is that you also mentioned it among the questions, to what extent the training can be shortened or restricted. This also came to my mind when we adopted our basic training, and basically the training focus on social skills was somehow affected. So in context what we heard yesterday, that we spoke about management training, we spoke about managing difficult inmates, and these topics that requires high level of social skills. How do you think this could be done in a distance form? How do you approach this topic via distance form?
Ok. Est-ce que vous avez la traduction ou vous voulez que je vous précise?
Sur la question des compétences sociales.
Oui, vu que la formation est réduite, dégradée, comment est-ce qu'on adapte les compétences sociales qu'on doit inculquer ça affecte en fait.
Sur le registre des compétences sociales, ce qui est intéressant pour nous, c'est juste de pouvoir sur l'alternance. Et par contre, de renforcer l'évaluation. Le propre de l'alternance, justement, c'est d'avoir une réelle mise en situation des élèves. Et à partir de là, on peut avoir une certaine appréhension de leurs compétences sociales sur le terrain.
Ouais, à l'exemple concret, par exemple, les élèves surveillants, au lieu d'avoir 2 stages de 5 semaines, ils ont mis un grand stage de 10 semaines.
Okay, so sorry for the delay. So when it comes to the social skills in this degraded, as I said, we relied on the internship, which was extended. In the regular mode, they would have 2 periods of 5 weeks of internship. And in this context, it had a 10 weeks of period of internship. And during this period, we could assess their social skills. And we relied on the on-site trainers, to assess them and to check if they had the proper skills on that respect.
Pour le coup, c'est assez similaire à ce qu'ils ont fait eux-mêmes dans le contexte, avec la mobilité des établissements, accompagner les affaires.
So it's similar to what you were doing, to what you are doing, or you were doing in Slovakia, relying on your on the prisons and the trainers, the staff who are on site to check on their skills when it comes to practical skills and social skills.
Par exemple, on a les officiers, il y a sur 80 officiers, il y a 10 qui ont dû faire, on a constaté qu'il y avait une lacune. Donc il y a eu des rattrapages. 10 sont passés au rattrapage en visio.
Pas des officiers, pas des surveillants. Parce qu'on focus un peu sur ces exemples. Sorry, we have to. So just to give you an example, this does not concern the prison officers, but the senior officers who were in training. And during the internship, we assessed their skills, and 10 of them had to go through a specific committee because they did not show the proper skills that we expected of them. And so it showed that we had an assessment protocol in place and with consequences for them if they do not show the proper skills.
Okay, thank you very much, Cedric. Thanks also to your director, Merci. And I think schedule is a bit